Hey friends, welcome to CIS 1500 Intro to Programming in Java. I'm Eric Chinesky, nice to meet you. I'm coming to you from my basement office tonight where I have no Wi-Fi. We just got power back a couple hours ago because of that great storm that went through, but the internet's not back on yet, thanks Comcast or Xfinity like they like to be called. So we don't know that they're still Comcast or something like that, sure. Anyway, glad you're here. Yeah, this is me. This is my OCC email address. This is the best one to use here. This is my cell phone. I do have a desk phone, but just use my cell phone. It's way easier because that way I'll see it right away. Office hours or student service hours, the hours I have set aside, regularly scheduled to meet with you folks. Monday 11 to 12, Tuesday 1 to 2:30, Thursday 2:30 to 4, and then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday 10:30 p.m. to 11:30 p.m. Notice these are p.m. times. It seems like a lot of students are free late at night, and I'm free late at night when my kids are in bed, and this just seems to work out pretty well. You can schedule via this Calendly link. I'd show you, but again, the internet's down right now, but it's super easy to use. You click on it, you pick a date, you pick a time, you put your email address in, and it sends us both a calendar invite to make sure I'm free. So that's great. Generally, I meet everyone on Zoom because unless you're already at OCC in Farmington Hills, the Orchard Ridge campus, which is my campus, driving in to show me your laptop screen is kind of silly. I can meet you in person if you want. The campus is open during the day. Unfortunately, it does close at 10 p.m. So these evening hours, we can only meet on Zoom. But let me know ahead of time if you want to meet in person. I find most folks like Zoom and doing screen shares because it saves us all a little bit of driving time, so works out pretty well. We've got 2 sections for this class. You'll be in different desire to learn sections, but the syllabus is the same, so I'm just doing one video for you folks, whether or not you're in 1531 or 1536. It is online asynchronous. We don't have any required synchronous meetings planned. I'm hoping to do a couple synchronous events throughout the semester, just a chance to have some live Q&A if you got questions and answers, because it tends to be, if you have a question, someone else has that exact same question. So instead of me having to answer the same question 15, 20, 30, 45, 60 times, right? It's nice to be able to answer it once and have everyone hear it. And again, I'll show you my Discord link a little bit later. Discord's a great place for that as well. But I'll try and have a couple meetings that are optional. I'll record them for anyone who's curious as well. But everything that happens is on our Desire to Learn course management system here. This is the copy paste of the catalog description. I won't bother reading it to you. It won't make a whole lot of sense till we've actually gone through it anyway, so that's fine. For general education outcomes, so I think pretty much every course at OCC maps to one of these general education outcomes, one of our 6 or something like that, I forget. But ours is critical thinking for our class, being able to apply knowledge to the assigned task. You're going to learn all sorts of cool tools and techniques and things you can do with code, and you'll be able to apply that knowledge to solve a problem to the assigned task. And then specific common course outcomes. So these things are what we measure across no matter who teaches CIS 1500, and we look at and see how well everyone's doing. Generally, we expect 70% of people to get a 70% or better on all of these items here, however we want to measure that, whether or not it's a quiz or a test or a project or whatever it happens to be. But this is part of our assessment process, which is actually kind of interesting that we look at all this stuff here. Yeah, thanks for that notice. So we'll be able to use an IDE or an integrated development environment to develop a running Java program. In addition to editing, compiling, and running a program, we should be able to use the IDE's debugger. The debugger is your best friend in the class. We can actually see our code running. Again, it'll be much more interesting. We actually go and do it here. I won't read all of these to you, and again, they're not going to make a whole lot of sense when we actually get to them, but there's 8 things that we do. All right, for our textbook, there's a cool website here. Again, I can't link it to you because my Wi-Fi is dead. That's really sad. I really like doing that sort of thing. But this is a fork of another prof out of, I want to say New York? I'm forgetting now. Somewhere out in the East area, Eastern US area, I think, wrote a free online textbook and said, if you want to use it for free, go for it. But he retired last year, the year before. So I made a copy of it just in case it gets taken down from his hosting site. So I've got it hosted on my GitHub here as well. I've got plans to edit it. There's a few things I don't really love in it, but it's free. It's much better than the $180 Pearson textbook that we used to use. So I think it is, at least. If you want a expensive textbook that does a nice job, of course, it's a good textbook, but it's just super expensive, be happy to recommend that to you as well. And then all the other tools that we're going to use. Just a note, GitHub and Discord are public services, so whatever username that you pick will be publicly visible. It doesn't have to be your real name, because everything you give me in Desire to Learn will be attached to your real name. So GitHub is a free account. Please don't pay for any of this stuff. It's all free. GitHub is the website. They're a hosting provider of the Git source control system. We'll get into that later. The GitHub desktop client is my preferred way of interacting with GitHub. Again, it's not the only way. There's tons of ways to interact with GitHub, but this is the same no matter what language I teach. Works out pretty well. This is the link to my Discord server. While it is optional, I would strongly recommend you to join the Discord server. Then go to the rules channel, accept the rules or acknowledge the rules, and then go to the roles channel and get the correct role for the class that you're in and the school you're in to get all the access to all the channels here. I love Discord because it's actually modern and it works, and I find a lot of people are very familiar with it, much better than our awful discussion boards. And then this is a great place to ask questions, because then when you ask the question, everyone else in all the sections will see the question and be able to see the answer, which is great. We're going to use IntelliJ IDEA, and you want the community edition. So when you go to the download page, it doesn't look like there's anything other than the enterprise page, the way that it's colored. You just have to scroll down on the page, and then you'll see the link to the free community edition. It's free for educational use. It's great here. We're not going to be selling our stuff anyway, so that's fine. And they'll also use Scene Builder, which is a free tool from Gluon that goes along with Java FX, which we'll get to later in the semester. This one is free as well. You don't need this one right away. You're welcome to install it now if you want, but we're not going to play with it till the last couple weeks of the semester. But if you don't want to install any of the stuff on your own computer, you're welcome to use the virtual desktops from the college. Go to this knowledge base article and it'll show you how to install it for your particular operating system. There is a web version, but it's not quite as good as the other ones, so that we recommend the full client install, whether or not you're on a Apple device, a Mac, or if you're on Windows, or I think there's a Linux client. I'm trying to remember now. I feel like there was, or a Chromebook client. All right. Specific policies of the class. I am a bit of a stickler about plagiarism and cheating, and I hope all of you will be as well, because anyone who cheats should not get a degree, because it's bad for everyone who gets that degree. If you cheat your way through school and have no idea what you're doing, when you get hired and you suck at your job because you cheated your way through school, that employer is going to think the school did a terrible job and won't want to hire other graduates. So please don't cheat. It's just not worth it. Like, ideally, you're learning something here. If you don't want to be here, don't. Right? You don't have to sit through and do all this stuff here. You're welcome to do credit by exam and skip all of this. Right? Basically, give you the final project, you get it done. You don't have to sit through any of this other stuff. So if you're bored, please talk to me. But hopefully you're here in the class to learn something. So don't cheat. My consequence for engaging in academic dishonesty is a failing grade for the course and being reported to the dean's office. There is no 0 on the assignment. There is no try again. There is nothing. If you cheat, if you engage in academic dishonesty, you fail the class. I try my hardest to make sure cheaters do not get degrees, but I hate doing paperwork. It's a ton of paperwork. I have to fill out this big long form. I have to send it to my dean. I have to do all this other stuff. It's really obnoxious, and I hate doing it, but I have to do it just about every semester, which drives me crazy. And then I get upset about it, then I complain to my wife about it, then she's upset because I'm upset, and it's just a bunch of nonsense. So just don't cheat. If you're not sure, ask me, right? Up until the point where you turn something in and put your name on it and say, this is my work, right? You're welcome to ask. Ask me questions. I come off like a big jerk here, but my goal is to help you. Right? That's why I got into teaching, because I like helping people learn how to do these cool things. I think coding is a lot of fun. Was a software engineer for a lot of years. Had a lot of fun doing it. It's a great field, great industry. You always get a chance to learn new things. So I'm open to a lot of things, but specifically, you may not use Chegg.com. You can't post questions there. Don't cite answers posted there. Any use of Chegg.com or similar websites like Course Hero or all that other garbage is considered academic misconduct immediately, because their business model is they take your money to let you cheat, and they call it tutoring or whatever bullshit they want to call it here. It's just a bunch of nonsense. They're currently getting sued by Pearson because people post the content or the questions from their classes, which are Pearson content, on Chegg, and then Chegg answers them and hosts Pearson's content, which is a bunch of nonsense here. So just stay off of it. You'll be much better, I promise. You've probably heard of something like ChatGPT. I'm okay with you using it for certain purposes, right? The idea here is that we use it as a tool to help us be more efficient. When you're just learning how to code, having it do everything for you is not actually helpful at all. Having it help you with what you're doing or do a small part of your task is great here. So I'll show you how you can cite it using a code comment. We'll get to it, and I want you to include the prompt that you used, because depending on what your tool is, you won't have a URL you can give me that shows your whole chat history. And that being said, just like any other source, you have to have the original effort. In English paper, you can't turn in one giant quote and say, here's my paper, right? In quotes, that doesn't fly. The bulk of your work has to be your original effort. You're welcome to use it for small pieces here and helping with things, or saying, hey, I use it to help me debug this, or I use it, whatever, like small bits. That's great. It's a fantastic tool for it. Somewhere around 80% of developers are using some type of AI tool, not specifically ChatGPT, but some sort of AI tool to help them code, and it helps them be more efficient. So you're going to use it in the workforce, but it's not going to do everything for you. So you still need to learn what you're doing and use it just like any other sort of tool here. This is a quote from the college handbook here. Interestingly, I will point out that you cannot engage in behavior in which, in the judgment of the instructor of the class, which is me, is construed as academic dishonesty. So if it looks like academic dishonesty to me, then it is academic dishonesty. Again, I'm not the biggest jerk in the world, I promise. Ask me if you have questions here. But most of the time that's plagiarism. That's you turned in something that you didn't do. You put your name on it and gave it to me, right? Without giving credit to the originator. You can use pieces, you can use parts, just like the English paper. You use good parts of other people's work, and then you add original effort to it. You're adding your own ideas and thoughts and synthesizing things together. You're using your critical thinking to put these pieces together. It's fantastic. Right? And acquisition of tests or academic materials or distribution of the same. This is why you stay off of Chegg. Actually posting a question from the course on Chegg is a violation of this policy immediately, because you're distributing academic material without permission. You don't have permission to post these things on Chegg.com, so putting them on Chegg.com is a violation of the policy. Just even asking the question, whether or not you even get an answer out, is an immediate academic misconduct. Sorry, I'm losing all my words right now, but that's what it is. So, and then if your friend in the class says, hey, I just want to look at your code and see what you did, I'm not going to copy off you, bro, don't give it to them, because any student who aids and abets, which is such a funny word to put in the student code of conduct, aid and abet, but if you give someone your code, your project, and they copy off of you, you're both liable for academic misconduct. So just don't do it. Tell them to go do their own work, right? It's not hard, right? This is all doable. People pass all the time. Now, I'll tell you right now, we do have about 40% of people fail. Either they get a D, an F, or they just drop the class. Personally, I think that's related to the fact that everyone knows software engineering is a pretty good field to get into. It pays pretty good money. You can usually work remotely, depending on the company. Not everyone's up to that, but that sort of thing. So lots of people wanted to get into it. And it's not the hardest thing in the world, but it's not easy. So I don't think it's for everyone. I think you can learn, but we do have 40% of people fail this class or drop the class. So it's going to be a little hard, but you've got to do the work. So put the work in and you'll get there. If you get stuck on things, that's what I'm here for. This is why I like teaching. I like helping people have those aha moments, right? I'm not going to tell you, oh, go watch the video again and go away. I'm going to help you with stuff. Right. Other things, of course, you should be on time to our asynchronous class. You should keep the classroom quarters. This is just copy-paste nonsense. Sorry, it's out here. What do people care about? So how you get your grade in the class, right? So if you want to get an A, it's 93 to 100, A minus all the way on down, right? This should be a standard scale now through the college. Should be. They've asked us to use it, but they can't make us do it. Whatever here. But I use a weighted scale. So we have a couple different categories. We have 5 categories of items. We have labs every week, or almost every week. We have projects. There's 4 projects. There's chapter quizzes. Most chapters have a chapter quiz. There's a single midterm exam. That's the only exam in the class. And then we have a final project. So out of all of the labs, your score altogether will make up 10% of your final score. So if you get 90% on all of your labs altogether, you'll get 9 out of the 10% possible here, out of that 100 for the class, that sort of thing. The final project, you'll note, is worth 40%. That's on purpose. You cannot pass the class without the final project. That's on purpose. Everything we do builds up to this final project. I like it. I think it's interesting. Some people have a lot of fun with it. Turns out pretty good. I like it. Now, you can withdraw up to a certain date. Go check and see what the official date is. But up until you present your final project, you can ask me for a WS, which is a different way of getting a withdraw. Lots of reasons, and they upset me here, but sure. As long as you haven't presented your final project, you can get a WS, right? If you've gone through everything and turned in and presented your final project, then you're going to get a letter grade. But up to that point, I can give you a WS. End marks. So if you don't turn in work for our online classes, it's attendance for in-person classes, but for online classes, it's turning in gradable work. This is gradable work here. So we have a quiz the very first week. It's a quiz on the syllabus. It's basically free points, and you can take it as many times as you want. You get 100% on it. But if you don't do that, you're at risk of getting an end mark. If you are receiving financial aid, federal financial aid, you get dropped from the class and weird stuff happens and you have to owe us money or bad stuff happens. Just don't do it. If you're paying for it yourself, nothing happens. But it's only related to financial aid. For late stuff, I don't take late work. Please plan accordingly. The reason is I generally go over solutions to things. So once I've released a solution, I can't take it late from you. So all the projects you'll have 2 weeks to work on. Other than that, stuff is due every week. So we run our weeks from Thursdays, 8 a.m. to the following Thursday, 7:59 a.m. So content will open at 8 a.m. and it'll be due, everything should be due the following Thursday, 7:59 p.m., except for the projects which are 2 weeks out. For FERPA, our Federal Education Rights and Privacy Act, I won't tell anybody anything. I'll say go look in D2L if it has anything to do with your grades, which is fantastic. Americans with Disabilities Act, please contact our Access Office. They'll get in touch with me and we'll figure out reasonable accommodations. Most of the time, the accommodations I see are related to additional time on tests. None of my tests are timed. So again, just let me know. We'll have that conversation if we need to, but none of the tests are timed. I've never really understood the focus on having timed things. Like, if you can get the answer right, I mean, it's not like you've got unlimited time in the workplace, but no one ever sat me down and said, Eric, you have 15 minutes to do this. That's it. I think that's about, whatever, silly. Our Academic Support Center is fantastic. This is one of my favorite things at OCC. We have a dedicated department here to academic support, and we have no additional charge tutoring. Free is not really the right word here. You don't have to pay for it, but your tuition and tax dollars are paying for it. So someone's paying for the tutoring, but it's no additional charge to you. It's through the Penji app. So we've got some awesome CIS tutors. We've been trying really hard to get more tutors. I keep begging them to hire tutors for my classes because people keep failing. They're a fantastic resource. So if you take a look at my calendar, my Calendly for office hours, I try and limit meetings to about 15 minutes because I've got lots of students I have to meet with every week, where the tutors can spend an hour with you. So they're a fantastic resource. They can go over additional material. They can guide you on assignments. They're not going to solve them for you, but they'll give you tips and tricks and help you find things or give you other examples to look at as well. They're fantastic. They also have study skill seminars. We've been finding lots of students coming out of high school lately don't really have good college skills or study skills or understand how to plan any of this stuff out. And that's okay. That stuff is hard. Being an adult is hard, and it's okay that it's hard. So we've got some seminars for you to give you some good tips and tricks on doing that. Our Student Technical Help Desk, you can contact them for technical issues. D2L Tech Support is website issues, not content. If it's content related, talk to me. For accessibility standards, it's on the D2L site. You should be able to do some tech things. You're in a programming class. I figure you know how to work a computer. File management is actually very important. Knowing where a folder is super important here. So I've got my folder with syllabi here. This is in Windows land, right? So I can go to click in here and I can see the path. So C, users, Eric C, OneDrive, personal, school, OCC, 2024 fall, right? I can go and see the path here, right? And I can see these are all the folders. Knowing where your files are super important, and we're going to use GitHub or the Git source control system through GitHub. And it's very particular about where your files live. So being able to understand files is very important. Please know how to do that. And if you don't, ask me, right? I'm happy to give you some tips there. Our technology appropriate use regulations, don't do stupid things with college resources or you might lose access to them. For netiquette, please be kind. That's just the easiest way to do this here. Public safety generally doesn't apply for online stuff, but please, if anyone's being harassing you, let me know or let public safety know or whatever we need to do. That is not acceptable. Our library is fantastic. I'm super excited for some of the resources our library has. One of the coolest things we have is O'Reilly book catalog. So O'Reilly is a technical book publisher. They've got a ridiculously large library of everything technical when it comes to books here. Anything you ever want to do in CIS, they probably have a book for, and we get access to all of it for free from OCC, which is super cool. So if you ever wanted to find something, it's out there, which is really cool. And a bunch of other stuff as well in the library. Lots of cool stuff. And you can actually chat with librarians, right? In person, email, chat, phone, Zoom for research assistance. They will help you find information, which is awesome. For me, Now, if you've found me on Rate My Professor, I've not been good at this. The goal is to start good at this and keep being good at this and not have a bunch of crap happen in my life that slows things down here. So the goal is to get everything graded within a week of the due date, not the date that you turn it in, but the day that it was due. I try and get stuff graded within a week after that. The quizzes will auto-grade themselves, except for the syllabus quiz. That first one won't, but all the other quizzes will grade themselves. The discussions I'll try and grade within a week of when they close. There's 2 weeks for every discussion because I like you to have a reply. And if I make everyone post and reply in the same week, it tends to be everyone does their very first post like 12 hours before it's due, and then no one has time to reply. And I found that's just terrible. And then trying to like offset it and whatever. So you have a week to do your first post, and you have a week to do the reply. Ideally, everything happens in the first week because that's when we're talking about that content, and we get new content every week. But if you need additional time to do your reply, we got an additional time to do it. For email response or communication, usually within 24 hours, more often much less than that. Right? Everything comes to my phone here, whether that's texting or email or Discord or whatever it happens to be. I've got it with me all the time. Like any good millennial, I'm pretty addicted to my phone. So if you haven't heard from me, I probably just missed it or swiped the notification away, or my little guy watching YouTube on my phone did something weird to it. Please reach out again, right? It's not a bother at all. That's what I'm here for, to help. I forgot to mention. So I've got 7 kids at home. It's usually pretty noisy during the day. So if you call, leave me a voicemail, tell me what time is good to call back. As you can see, I like evening hours. I'm usually on much later than that as well, getting stuff done when it's quiet. Generally don't call and I don't try and pick up the phone in the morning. I'm not usually up before 9 in the morning if I can help it, because the mornings are just awful, and I got into IT so I didn't have to deal with mornings. But call or text anytime if you like that. Discord's great as well. Email's fine. All right, our schedule, the exciting part here. So starting today, or 8 a.m., this will open. We'll do our course introduction, GitHub, and IntelliJ, and the mental landscape, which is chapter 1 of the textbook. So read the syllabus, read chapter 1. And then every Thursday at 8 a.m., we'll pick up new stuff. So pretty much a chapter a week. Not exactly. We spend 2 weeks on chapter 3 because it's a big chapter. We spend 2 weeks on chapter 5. And we kind of jump around a little bit here. Again, I had big plans to try and reorganize the book. But the way he references stuff got a little tricky here. So it's using the author's original layout here. But it's okay. It's a pretty nice site. He's got everything out there for free, which is awesome. So at the end of the semester, at the end of the semester survey, let me know what you think about the book. If you think you'd rather have a textbook that might be a little bit better that you pay for, let me know. If you think the free one was awesome, let me know that as well, please. So yeah, these are our topics. So we'll go through and we just keep getting new stuff and new stuff and new stuff. You see there's a project every other week, right? We have 2 weeks to do them. These are our 4 projects, 0, 1, 2, and 3. We get to midterm week. This is open book, open notes, open internet, but not open neighbor. Again, as a programmer, I've never once had anyone ask me to do something off the top of my head, because that would be stupid, right? We have tools, we have resources, we have things out there that we can go and look up. No one knows everything, and they're not going to keep it all in their head, but they know where to go find that information, right? So untimed, open book, open notes, super basic's not really the right word for it, but it's kind of a good level set. So at week 10, it's a little later than most midterms, but it's got through most of the content here. We're going to do a quick check-in and see. So if things go well in the midterm, you should feel pretty good. If they don't go well, it's, we need to have a conversation. After that, we get into graphical user interface programming, which is my favorite part here. So we start with that. We pick up a couple other small topics here in chapter 8. We have a week off for Thanksgiving break. The plan is nothing happens that week. We just pretend like nothing is there. So everything that starts on 11/14 will be due on 11/28. Right? We just pretend like there's a whole gap there or something. We'll spend a little more time with advanced GUI programming. And then the second to last week of class is reserved just for work time. You've got nothing to do but work on the final project. I try and check in with folks, see how things are going. Again, my goal is that everyone gets it done. I'm super happy when everyone gets the project done. The goal is not to fail people on this project. It happens, but that's never the goal. And then the last week of class, final project presentations. We'll do individual presentations. I might try and schedule one for groups because it's really cool to see what other people do. We'll see how well that goes. We'll present via Zoom. Presentations are not optional. You must present your final project to get a score for the class, and without that, you can't pass the class. This is a chance for us to talk. You can show me what you did, talk about your code, and I can see what's happening here. Honestly, that's the easiest place for me to catch to see if someone just copy-pasted an entire project. and has no idea what's happening. So we'll do those. Zoom is the easiest for that. Over screen shares, somewhere around this last week of class. We do have a little bit of extra time because the semester doesn't end until the following Monday, the 16th. But that would be the last day of presentations if we need to. So ideally sometime this week, maybe the following Monday to get presentations done. And if anything needs to change, I'll let you know. All right, folks, if you got any questions, let me know. Again, Discord's probably the best place for that. There's a Q&A forum on D2L, or call or email me, text me, whatever you'd like here as well. But can pretty easily guarantee if you're not sure about something, you have a question about something, one of the other 60 people in class has that exact same question. So if you post it in Discord, you'll do us all a favor. All right, thanks, folks. I'll see you around.